Shaun Haney here with RealAgriculture.com and Real Ag Radio. We're broadcasting from Grow Canada in Calgary, Alberta, brought to you by Syngenta Canada. Big thanks to them for their sponsorship of this year's coverage of this event. And right now I am joined by the president of Cereals Canada, Cam Dahl. Cam, how's it going?
It's going well, Shaun. Thanks for having us on the show.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to you guys. And also, Gary Stanford. Now, Gary, what is your role now?
I'm chairman of the Alberta Wheat Commission, and also I'm on the board of CIGI, and also I grew up under Old Chief Mountain.
In southern Alberta?
In southern Alberta.
And you're just about the end of your term for Alberta Wheat, right?
Yeah, they're going to turn me out in January, so I've been on the Alberta Winter Wheat Commission, and then we started the Alberta Wheat Commission, and we were just figuring it out, and it's been 24 years.
Oh, yeah. Way off, we're going to get to other stuff here, but you remember like in Alberta, we actually used to have 4 or 5 wheat groups? Like remember going to the soft wheat growers meeting?
Yeah. We
had
like
a collection of 10 people.
We had the Soft White Wheat Commission, and they worked on the products for microwave products with Parrish and Heimbecker,
Ellison
Milling, and so that's what they worked on. And then winter wheat, it was kind of getting left behind by Ag Canada. And so a few farmers got together and said, let's work with the plant breeder. And so that's how the Winter Wheat Commission was formed back in the late 80s. So.
Yeah, fun stuff. Okay, you guys are fresh. Are you done the new crop missions, or we're in a little bit of a break here?
We're about halfway through.
Halfway through. And where have we been so far?
I was part of the mission that went to Asia, so that was Japan and Philippines and Indonesia and Singapore and China. And then Gary was in Latin America.
Yeah, so I got a chance to go to Mexico City, to Guayaquil, Ecuador, Bogota, Colombia, and Lima, Peru.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, I just got back a few days ago.
What did you think of Colombia?
Actually, it was a really nice place to go to. The city was very, very nice. The people were super friendly, but the altitude, I had a hard time. It's over 7,000 feet of altitude there, and so that was something that was quite unusual for me to be in a city that high at elevation.
Yeah, so Cam, let's start here. What is the purpose of the new crop missions?
I think fundamentally it's a customer support and customer service function where we reach out to the key customers, the large customers of Canadian wheat, and help them understand the quality of the current crop. So every crop is different. This crop, we know we've had a difficult fall. That's going to impact the quality, how it's going to mill, what kind of bread it's going to make. And our customers need to respond to that. So this is really a customer support function to help our customers adjust to each individual crop.
So with the lateness of harvest this year on the prairies, how do we know that already? Like, what are we telling them?
Well, this is where the Harvest Sample Program that the Canadian Grain Commission runs and has come together with the Canadian International Grains Institute to use that statistically accurate survey to get a picture of what the quality is. So what are the grading factors, all the different analytical functions for flour and for bread making really does come out of that collaborative work with CIGI and the Canadian Grain Commission.
So Gary, they always want to hear from farmers, right? What are some of the questions that they're asking you?
Yeah, when I was doing my presentation on the missions, I talked about how I seed my crop, how I harvest my crop, how we grow it, and we, about our environment, and, we're environmentally friendly. And then also they would ask me, when do I seed my crop, and how do I seed it if there's snow on the ground? So you explain to them, we start seeding in like April, the beginning of May, and it takes 120 days to grow the crop. So that's why we're harvesting September, October. And then they want to know, how do we look after our grain? How do we store our grain? How do we keep it good quality? Because when you live in those warmer environments like Asia or Latin America, they have pest problems, or they'll have issues with the grain, getting moisture in it. So I explain how we take care of our grain in Western Canada. We have aeration, and we have dry grain bins, and we keep it cool and dry for them. So it's a lot of it's to like, what do you do and how do you take care of it?
Topic of glyphosate come up?
Yeah, absolutely. It comes up everywhere we go. And so we explain to them that we follow label directions. Cereal Canada and the Canola Council have Keep It Clean program, which is very good for farmers to understand. And so I'll explain it to them that we do use glyphosate because we don't want to go back to cultivating, so we spray it in the spring before we seed. So as long as you're open with them and tell them that you're following label directions, they're very good to go.
So Cam, who's in the audience?
So mostly it's the milling companies. So that's who we're really targeting. And often we'll have government officials, and I'll just take Japan for example, where it's an opportunity to have one-on-one meetings with the Ministry of Agriculture in Japan. To talk about some regulatory things like how we're going to deal with gene editing and meet their regulatory requirements as new varieties come onto the market. So it's mostly targeted to the milling companies, but also as an opportunity to have discussions with regulators, especially in markets where we've got some market access issues.
So how does all this tie to some of the work that CIGI's doing? Is this a combo team unit?
Absolutely. Yeah, this really is a collaborative effort of three key organizations, is CIGI, Cereals Canada, and the Canadian Grain Commission.
And how long have we been doing this?
Started the first joint mission was in 2014. I think if we go back in time, this is something that the Wheat Board used to coordinate. And when the marketing functions changed, of course, that coordination wasn't there anymore. And so it took a couple of years to get back to a place where we're really presenting a common Canadian outlook and a common Canadian message. And then that's really important.
Now, there's a lot of countries that we're visiting on these missions. Are they all current customers of Canadian product, or are they potentials? We're trying to build a market, or is it kind of all the above?
It's a little bit of both. The focus is on key customers, and Gary visited Peru, for example, where we export more than 1 million tons, or Japan and Indonesia and China, which are top five markets around the world. But we're also going to countries where there's potential for growth, and places like Bangladesh or Nigeria. I found it interesting that Janice Stein just was talking about some of the young countries, the growing countries, and West Africa is definitely a place that's young, and where our opportunities are growing.
For Durham or what?
No, this is for CWRS.
Oh, really?
Bread making wheat.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, so Gary, are you going on more of the mission, or are you done now?
No, this one that I was on, it's done with Latin America. Like Cam was saying, there's 5 missions a year they go on to. 2 in Asia, 1 in Latin America, 1 in North Africa, Dubai, and then 1 for Europe. Because we sell different kinds of grains to each country. So we'll sell a lot of durum into Italy and into Algeria, and we'll sell CWRS or CPS Plus, it's called, into some of the Latin America. Some places have more flatbread, some have more risen bread, some have more cakes. So they buy different wheat. But one thing that was consistent in everywhere I went, each city, is that they really like Canadian wheat because they know the quality and they know it's consistent quality. It's not blended with other wheats. We keep our wheat separate. And so that was really good for them. And then also there was a grain buyer there that was from Panama. He said we're trying to open up more Canadian wheat into Costa Rica and other places along that area. So that was very encouraging for us that they're looking at our wheat.
Has falling number come up at all on these trips?
Yes, it has. And this year normally we have 75 to 80+% of the crop is number 1 and number 2. Of course, this year that's down significantly. And so yes, that question of are you going to have enough high quality grain to supply us, especially in markets like Japan that pay a premium for high quality grain, that absolutely was a question.
Okay, guys, thanks a lot for joining us. I know the break is on here, so we got to get some refreshments, but thank you very much for joining us.
I appreciate your time, Shaun.
Thanks, Shaun.